Welcome to the Ship's Gonna Happen podcast, episode number 62. My name is Tony B. Alongside me, as usual, is David B. And in the studio today, Hall of Famer, one and only. He's a legend on the street. He's a legend in the corporate office. His name is Matt G. Is in filling in for Timmy D, who's out today. Today's topics: trucking top 100. I got that, and David's got diesel prices. But first, we'll got an interview with Rene from Northern Cross Transport. Remember, we are just three Americans discussing the topics that affect the transportation industry. Our views, the views of us three, are purely news-driven and do not express the views of any transportation provider or any business entity that uses a transportation provider. David B, we do it for what?
The transportainment.
Yes, the transportainment. David and I were on a transportainment yesterday.
We were, yes.
You can catch us on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and our home website, ShipsGonnaHappen.com. All you got to do is Google our name, Ship's Gonna Happen. Put it in the little Google search section there. Or if you use, what are some other ones out there, right? Use any of them. It'll pop up.
Right, yes. Bing, whatever.
Yeah, Bing, Zing, Zing-a-Bing, Zing-a-Bing. So, David B., happy Saturday morning in the Midwest of America.
Good morning, producer Tony. Good morning, Matty Ice. It's good to have Matty Ice back in the studio, and it makes us today to talk to our friend Rene from Northern Cross Transport that we've got on the line. It's a beautiful Saturday morning starting off. We got a little rain in the forecast. That a nice spring shower that's going to hit us later today. I'm driving through Indianapolis this morning. That 65-70 split that they're working on downtown is coming along, not as quick as we want, but it's coming along, looking really good. I'm anxious to see how all that looks when they finally get that put together. Today's show, along with all the other shows, brought to you by The Great Divide, 743 East New York Street, downtown Indianapolis, the great place to go for a transportainment event, or kind of unwind after a nice Ship's Gonna Happen week and have a few cocktails, relax, and have a good meal and catch it up with the locals. Here's some good music on a Friday night. The Great Divide, 743 East New York Street, downtown Indianapolis. Let's catch up a little bit with Matty Ice. Matty Ice, how are you today, my friend? Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Happy to be back on Ship's Gonna Happen. I know it's been a while. I was wondering if you guys had just thrown me out and were never bringing me back.
We'd never throw you out.
Didn't know if there was some offensive stuff said in the past. That,
Yeah, Tim gets, 12 weeks of vacation a year, so he's finally taking his first one or whatever, so he's off this week. So it's definitely great to have you back in the studio.
Yeah, Tim takes off quite a bit. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
well, when you get 40
hard.
weeks of vacation,
right?
I mean, you gotta use them.
We just take his word for it, right?
Right. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rene, we have Rene from Northern Cross. Rene, you on?
Yes, sir.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm fantastic. Thank you, guys.
Rene, it's so good to have you on the show today. You and I'm the one you've been kind of messaging with back and forth on Instagram, and you've got 35 years of experience and you're a third generation truck driver. Can you tell us a little bit about how your family, I'm assuming that your dad and your grandpa or whoever have influenced you to be in the business and what that means to you? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, since I was in diapers, I've been around the trucking industry, and anytime that there was a holiday, vacation, spring break, a break from school, I was with Dad on the road in the truck. And, I grew up where he'd be gone 3 weeks at a time, and then he'd be home for 3 days and be gone for 3 weeks, long haul truck driver. And this was way before cell phones and being able to communicate and having to pull over and use phone booths, call home just to check up on everybody. And grew up where I heard my mom, wait till your father gets home, because,
right.
3 boys and a sister, we all got into mischief, and Dad got home from work, and the last thing he wanted to do was chew our ass out, and so he'd take one of us on the road, and it was usually me, because I was the one that was more interested in it,
So you literally got to ride shotgun and had like an on-the-job training as a young adult and as a young man, and so that's what really was the drive, right? And that's what made you make this decision.
Yeah, well, being up that high and just the sound and the smell and slinging chains and doing all that kind of stuff, climbing up on the flatbed and helping them out. I just, yeah, there was a thrill in that, and it may sound weird, but when Dad got home from work, I thought he just smelled the greatest, and I don't know what it was, but I don't know. I don't know if it was the cologne or just being out there in the elements, I could walk in the room and know that he was home from work because I could smell him, and he always smelled good from being out there working and, hard days labor, and trucking isn't just sitting your ass behind the wheel and going down the road, but, so yeah, I really enjoyed it, and to where I'm doing it, followed in his footsteps.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. Did any of your brothers and sisters do the same, or is it just you?
No, just me. My younger brother, he's handicapped, and so he wasn't able to do anything like that. I mean, he went with us on the road a couple of times because he was wheelchair bound. But my older brother, he was more into the girls and GQ kind of guy, and he was killed early on in his years, and so he wasn't around. And so no, it was just myself that followed in his footsteps.
Oh, wow. So do you have any children, and are you grooming any of them to maybe kind of follow in your footsteps also?
Yeah, we probably should have talked about this beforehand.
Oh, no, that's okay. Sorry. I mean, you don't have to answer any question you don't want to answer. It's
well, no,
just,
I'm a book. It's just, I don't know what all your viewers want to hear, but no, I had twin boys.
You be real. So
I had twin boys and a daughter, and I lost my twin boys in a drowning in Arizona.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Sorry.
And just lost my second son here 4 years ago. He was, fed through a tube in his stomach, and he was susceptible to pneumonia, and so his immune system got weaker and weaker, and we lost him on Christmas. And so,
I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry.
I probably would have had a towing company or a performance shop. I would have had something with them boys, because what I know, and from this industry, and I went to UTI, and they would have known tenfold what I know. And so no, I took them in when they were little to, on weekends, and I had cases of antifreeze as a retaining wall, a playpen to put them in so they could hear and smell and get it in their system, but
awesome.
that was as far as it went, but never got a chance to groom them. But anyhow, so no, it's just me. I'm the last of the dying breed.
That's sorry to bring up stuff that it's a little touchy or whatever. My apologies.
No, you're fine.
I've got some fun questions, Rene.
Yeah, Dave's the downer. I don't mean to be the downer. I apologize. Yeah, we'll get out of this. We'll get out of that. So where are you at this morning? Where are you at, and what are you hauling?
I'm in Poteet, Texas. I actually took a 6-month sabbatical. I was in England for 6 months, United Kingdom, and I just got back. I had I went across the pond because of a woman, and anyhow, and so.
Did you drive a truck over there, or you just trying to connect with her?
Connecting with her, I couldn't have a job until we got married, and hired an immigration attorney, and she drug her feet, and we never got married in the 6 months I was there.
Rene, real quick here. What do you mean you couldn't work there unless you were married? Yeah.
United Kingdom, you can't have a job, you can't have a bank account, you can't do anything until you're a citizen, and the only way you could be a citizen is by getting married. And even after you get married, it takes a year or so to become a citizen.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and I spent $40,000 in the last 6 months, and over 12,000 of that was in exchange rates because of our money not being worth as much over there, and so we were going to open up a bed and breakfast, and the one that we found that we wanted, that checked all the boxes, they wouldn't sell to us because she wasn't from there. It was a Cornish area, and she wasn't Cornish. She was northern UK, and so they wouldn't sell to us. And so, she kind of lost the wind out of her sails after that point. And the longer I was there, the more money I was spending. And it's like, well, we need to buy something. And once we bought it, then I could work it because it'd be all under her name.
Yeah.
but I couldn't get a job. I couldn't run a towing. I couldn't do anything until, I bought a
did not
car, a
know
Range
that.
Rover, and put it under my name just to establish some kind of residency, when I got there and all that kind of stuff. And her kids, her mom, her brother, nobody there has ever had a driver's license. They rely on public transportation. They walk or bike. And I rented a car for a month, and 2 weeks into it, I bought a Range Rover just because when the rental car was due, I wasn't, I'm not an overachiever. I'm not going to walk everywhere. And so I had to buy something because I needed transportation. And the only reason why I bought a Range Rover is because I'm 350 pounds. And so, right-hand steering, left-handed road, that's all Greek, after driving 50 years on the, on the right side of the road. And then you got to go over there and drive on the wrong side of the road.
Did you marry this woman, Rene?
No, the immigration attorney never got it. They kept blaming COVID. We needed more money. And I told her, I said, babe, I got to go back to America and recoup all this money, and then, I'll be back because I'm just blowing money. And I left in such a hurry because we had been courting each other for 5 years. And then because of the whole COVID, I couldn't get over there. And the prime minister, March, April, May, June, July, kept saying that they were going to lift the travel ban. And when he finally did in September, that's when I packed up and went over there. And I didn't set myself up and put a driver in my truck or anything. I just left because I wanted to be with her. And so I was there, like I said, for 6 months, and I had zero income coming in.
Wow.
And the only reason why I was okay is because all my bills and credit cards, I had no debt, and the only bill I had was my phone bill. So I was, money in the bank, I was okay, but we needed to buy something so I could get some income coming in, and a B&B was what I wanted to do over there.
So
go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Rene. So you're still in a relationship with this with her, or again?
Then I get back to America here March. I got back to America on March 4th, just recently, and 2 weeks after being here, she called and broke it off because she couldn't wait for me to go back up there. And
Tell them,
she saw that I was happy doing, back in so I went and bought a 2018 389 Peterbilt, and because I was doing this in a hot shot, very successful in a Duramax dually, and hauling right under 50,000 pounds in a 1-ton, and but I got over 2 million miles in a big truck. I'm out of Alaska. If you guys didn't know that,
I think David said that.
Yeah, I thought you might have been.
Yeah, so I've done ice roads. I worked in Antarctica.
Wow.
So I've done all 48 states, all of Canada, all of Alaska, Peru, Antarctica, New Zealand, Australia, England. So I've driven all over the place.
You're a road warrior.
So what do you drive? I mean, what are you pulling, Rene? Is it typically flatbed, dry van? What are you pulling?
I normally flatbed step deck work. I've done up to 27 wide out of Texas all the way up to Tennessee, which were dump boxes. I'm sorry, that went to Arizona to the mine in Arizona. Those were dump beds. But I've done 17 wide all the way up from Texas to Tennessee, and those were grain silos. And so and then with my hot shot, in November, right before Christmas Eve, I delivered a 16 wide load, went 7 states with that, with my hot shot, and had escorts, front and rear police, and that went
nice. That
went 7 states all the way up to the border of Canada and Vermont there. So I've done, I used to do out of the Davenport, Iowa factory, John Deere factory, all the way up to Fairbanks, Alaska, and there'd be oversized loads all the way up to Alaska from Iowa.
Wow.
So what keeps you, Rene? What keeps you in Alaska? Why Alaska out of everywhere? Because it sounds like you could really set up shop anywhere. So why Alaska?
The people, the weather, mainly the climate. I've been a polar bear all my life, and Dad never got a chance to do Alaska or Canada. I've traveled 23 states with them when I was 16 years old, and the only place that we'd never been was Canada, Alaska, and it was all the movies and books that made me go up there. And so I've been there 26 years. I've been up in Alaska, born and raised in San Antonio, Texas, and lived in Arizona. Got my associate's degree at UTI, so I lived in Arizona for 9 years, and then moved up to Alaska. After my first son passed away from the accident, then I moved up to Alaska to kind of do over in life, running away from everything, and been up there ever since.
So,
But
go ahead.
no, Alaska, just the weather, ice roads, and when I first moved up there and I was driving and I was trying to get a trucking job, and I had 600,000 miles under my belt, and going up to Alaska, they're like, I don't care if you got 2 million miles. If you haven't driven up here, then you don't have experience. And I thought, this guy's, was pissing me off. And once I did get and I got on with an old timer that gave me the experience, well, then I had a whole different respect for driving in Alaska. I mean, that's a whole different ball of wax, man. Wintertime, it's pitch black, and the conditions, ice fog and the ice, and it's not anything like, I mean, the lower 48, when it snows, it's crappy here, and it's all because of everybody else. It's not so much the truckers, but now it's kind of the truckers, they're so young and don't have the experience. But up there, we don't have chain law effects. So if you need a chain up, it's up to the driver. Where when you're in California and Oregon and Montana, and there's flakes on the ground, they throw the chain law, the signs come up, you got to chain up, and if you're not chained up, they give you a ticket, and put you out of service or something. But it's not like that in Canada and Alaska. I mean, that's where the men are men, and it's your decision if you think you need to chain up. And there were times where I went through Canada and didn't chain up just because my tires had good traction. They were hot, and I wasn't going to stop. And Canada should have paid me because I was plowing snow in my front bumper, just because that's how much snow was on the ground. But I just wasn't going to stop because I had good rubber, and I knew my truck, and I just kept going. And that's the kind of trucking I like, where you decide what's going on, not the authorities or the police officer or your dispatcher who has no experience because he watches a lot of YouTube.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I have to work for myself, because I'm not I don't get along well with others, because there's a reason why I still have 10 fingers and toes, is because when I do something, I do it because it's safe, and I'm not going to ever injure anybody else around me. I've been at it too long. And then you work with guys that are smart because they got a degree but have zero knowledge of what it takes to be in. And I always refer to it as my industry because I've been at it for so long. It's a lot of guys I know. I used to be a CDL instructor, and I would ask people in the classroom, to introduce themselves and what did you do before you came here. I mean, I've had from dentists to attorneys to real estate agent. I've always wanted to be a truck driver, and it's just like, wow, and so everybody, they weren't in it because of family. They got in it because they couldn't hold a job, or they were broke and heard about it. And like right now, there's a shortage of drivers, and they've changed the age from 21 to 19, which I think is the craziest thing, because even 21-year-olds don't even have the experience, and now you're giving it to a 19-year-old. So basically, those guys are able to drive at 19, but only in the state that they're from. Right. So the states that implemented it, so that means that you can only kill the people in your state.
Right.
So
yeah.
So how old were you when your dad finally said, "Hey, slip over here, I'll let you drive a few miles"?
15 years old.
Yeah.
And I was we were in Houston, Texas, and Dad had been awake 72 hours, and I kept looking over, and he was dozing off, and I'd be like, "Hey, Dad," and he's like, just looking inside. and I kept waking him up. And funny story is, growing up, Dad always made me wear a T-shirt underneath whatever I was wearing. And I always wore button-down shirts, not just pullovers. The pullovers were the white T-shirts. And I never understood that, and he would tell me, if you want to go with me tomorrow, and I'm like, yeah. He goes, all right, I'm going to come in your room and wake you up. If you don't wake up, then you don't go with me, and there were times where I went to bed with my clothes on because I didn't want to be late. I didn't want to be the reason to hold him up because I wanted to go. And he walked in the door and he'd tap my toe and I'm up, or I'd hear the doorknob turning and I'd be awake because I didn't want to miss it. I loved being out there, the smell, everything. And so I would go with them. And that day I kept waking him up. He's like, you got your shirt on? And I said, yeah. And what the reason behind that was, South Texas, it's hot. So every time Dad would get in the truck, he would unbutton his button down shirt and hang it behind the seat, and he'd drive with the t-shirt on and the AC's on and everything. And so he said, you got your shirt on? I go, yeah. He goes, all right, take off your shirt, jump in the driver's seat. And so I got my t-shirt on and this way, if a highway patrol saw a white shirt and I had to pull over, I could wake him up and he would swap seats and there'd be a white shirt in the front seat again. And so that was the reason why he always wanted me to wear a white shirt, because that's all he ever wore. And so I jumped in at 15 and drove and Dad's like, remember, what happens in the truck stays in the truck. Don't tell your mom, because I made a promise to her not to let you boys drive until you were 18, and so I drove from Houston to San Antonio. It was only three and a half hours, but I was pulling a 53-foot reefer, and I was in a Peterbilt, and so, and Dad, I get behind the wheel and he's like, all right, I go through all the gears. He says, 55, stay alive, double nickel. He says, anything happens, wake me up, and so I drove the truck, to the truck stop, which was right close to the yard where he worked at. And then we swapped there and then because he wasn't supposed to have passengers. So then I'm hiding in the bunk to get onto the property. And then, I get out of the truck and go hide in the pickup, and then Dad, and then we go home. And we get to the house and Mom looks at me, looks at him, looks at me, and she says, you son of a bitch. I thought he wasn't going to drive till he was 18. And my dad looked at me and looked at her and says, you weren't supposed to say anything. And I go, I didn't. She goes, he didn't have to. Look at the grin on his face. She says, I knew you drove, and Dad's like, well, honey, I'd been awake 72 hours, and so he drove us home to get home. Well, we wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for him driving. And so that's when it all started for me,
Do you remember what year that Peterbilt was?
Oh, it was an 85, 86, 379 extended hood, baby blue Peterbilt.
Yeah, you probably never forget that.
No, I remember that truck, and that's what I'm driving now. But it's a 389, which is actually the same as a 379, except the hood's 4 inches longer. And so I got a 389 2018, 600 horse, 18 speed, 290-inch wheelbase, 342 rear end. I mean, this thing is just spec'd out.
Rene, is there a reason some of the drivers we've interviewed prefer certain trucks over other trucks? Do you prefer a Peterbilt over the other trucks?
Absolutely. I have an associate's degree in automotive diesel and transmission, air conditioning, refrigeration. So I went, like I said earlier, I went to UTI in Arizona. So I not only did my dad drive truck and I drove truck, but I went to school and got an associate's degree in working on these things. And I've worked on them from front to rear bumper. I've overhauled rear ends, transmissions. I've taken the trucks off the frame. I mean, there's nothing on a truck I haven't done. Same thing with the trailer. I mean, I worked on from a Yugo to a Silver Spur Rolls Royce, so I got $180,000 worth of tools. So what makes me different is the fact that I can work on these things, and I do. And so that's why I prefer Peterbilt, just because I've worked on everything under God's blue sky, from Freightliners to Kenworths to auto cars to Sterlings, Fords, Volvos, Internationals, Kenworth. I mean, I've worked on them all, and every one of them, just like, Dodge, Ford, and Chevy. I mean, one sounds better, one's got more leg room, one's quieter, one, the door closes better, the starter sounds better. I mean, every one of them have a different reason. But to me, I mean, I like a Kenworth as well, but I like a Peterbilt better.
It seems like those are the two that are preferred, Rene, the Kenworth and Peterbilt.
Yeah, the seasoned truck driver, that's what he's driving. The the guy that wants to, break ground in the industry. They're buying Freightliners because they're affordable. It's like getting you know, the Chevy Citation of Cadillac, the Cimarron, it's
Chevy
affordable,
Citation.
it's the affordable Cadillac, and so Freightliner. And that's what a lot of the companies, that have a lot of drivers end up buying our Freightliners because they're disposable, they're replaceable, they're affordable. You weigh a Freightliner, you weigh a Peterbilt, and the Peterbilt's going to be a lot heavier because it's got a double frame wall, it's got dual maxis. There's a lot of things about a Peterbilt that's more heavy duty than a Freightliner, and it's got more steel parts, more aluminum parts than plastic, and so, but yeah, so to each their own. You can get them all to last long if you just that's the key, is the maintenance part of it, taking care of it and going through them, because things come loose and you need to tighten things up because of our horrific roads that we have here everywhere. And so you just got to stay on top of it. You got to have a good ear and know the things that come loose on a truck. But as a mechanic, I know that, but if you're just a steering wheel holder, you're not going to know that, and you're going to have to rely on your mechanic to go through it, and do that kind of stuff, because you're relying on somebody else. And for me, it's kind of hard to drive an 80,000 pound truck down the road and have somebody else do the work on it, and me rely on the fact that he did their work correctly. And a lot of people do that. They rely on other people, and I just could never do that. If when it comes to the brakes or steering components, I have to do it to make sure that it's going to stay on the road. And and I've hauled 180,000 pounds. I've hauled 500,000 pounds going down the road, and everything has to.
Wow.
You're the one in charge of everything. When you have escorts and you're dictating to everybody, and they're your eyes and ears, because you can't see and hear something, behind you that's going on. And anyhow, so yeah, there's quite a bit of responsibility when you are moving that kind of equipment down the road.
You Rene, you caught my ear on something there with talking about the condition of our roads, and just curious, and driving all over the country, what states stand out as a worst and best as far as upkeep on their interstates?
Indiana's the worst when it comes to the road. Chicago, Indiana, and as far as upkeep, Alaska, Canada, Texas, Arizona is beautiful roads, highways, interstates, and Vegas, the interstates. Plus, there's no scales in the whole state of Vegas. That's just because of casino money.
Yeah.
But there's still officers that'll pull you over and do a DOT inspection because they got to keep their certifications up, and they'll still do an inspection. But but yeah, the roads are, God, they're just horrific. And if you don't have air ride and a good truck, air ride cab, air ride seat, and all that, I did it, like I said, I did it in the hot. I only bought that hot shot because I was pulling doubles up in Alaska, hot crude oil, and I bought this Denali Dually 2019 just to go to work and church and back, and then my daughter got pregnant, and so 3 months after I bought the truck, and so I ended up turning it into what I did, on my Instagram page there. I ended up naming my Dually Goliath, and everybody had seen me knows who I was, because I helped a lot of people, and I mentor a lot of guys that are trying to get into the business, and I do it for free, and I do a lot of these podcasts and try to get the information out there, where other guys with a year or two under their belt are selling it, $60 an hour over the phone. And it's like, it's such a joke. And guys putting classes on, securement. I guess something's better than nothing, but, it's just like, I tell guys, if you're getting into the industry, go work for Swift or Snyder or somebody like that, because that's why they exist. They're going to give somebody with no experience the experience.
Yeah.
And be a sponge and learn everything that they can offer you, and go into each different division so that you can learn it. and you can learn it. But because when you come out here on your own, I've only been inside a scale twice in over 3 years, just because my DAT report was so good and clean that, they I pass every time if they want to do a level 2 or 3 inspection on me, I tell them do a level 1, and I pass those, and so my score is really good. And so when I do approach a scale and they read my numbers, they don't even pull me in. They green light me and I go around, just because my score's up so high for doing those level 1 inspections.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I just,
You got a question,
I've been
Dave?
at it.
No, just you're listening to the Ship's Gonna Happen show, and we're on today with Rene from Northern Cross Transport. And we really appreciate your time this morning, Rene. So, was your grandpa in the industry also, and do you have a story about him?
Yeah, he drove a Mercedes, the flat nose, the cab over type trucks. They were a little bit more bubblier, but yeah, he drove a Mercedes truck back then. And my grandparents, they all spoke Spanish, so they was growing up. I mean, we spoke what we call Spanglish, Spanish and English, and but I wasn't really close to that grandfather. It was my mom's father that I was the closest to.
Okay.
Because on my dad's side there was 12 of them, and so there was a lot of people there and a lot going on, and so I knew all my uncles and aunts and everything, but I just didn't know my grandfather as well, and as I did my mom's dad. And I grew up in the summer with him, and he was a plumber. And so I grew up with plumbing, and then I grew up around the truck industry when I was at my dad's house growing up. So I got to see the hands-on of it all, the plumbing side and the truck driving side, and so grandpa would work on his truck on the weekends, and that would be the time that I would get to see him doing that kind of stuff. And so I got and dad, when he owned a truck, he relied on other people working on it because he didn't have the knowledge to do the work, and he paid for a rear end overhaul one time, and that was $8,000-9,000. And I remember being with him, and the rear end making some noise, and here we are in Chicago, and they're looking at it, and the guy goes and takes it apart and says that, oh, these are the original ring and pinion gears. The only thing he did was put a pinion bearing in it, and here he charged them as if he did an overhaul, and it was the original ring and pinion because it still had the brown paint on the ring gear that the frame was painted brown, and it's just like, so even way back then in the 70s, people were dishonest about the stuff that was getting done to a truck, because they just, and it's still that way today. That's why I feel like I have to do the work myself, just because I don't know anybody to trust to do the work. And I'm 53 years old. I don't want to keep doing it. I can afford to pay somebody, but it's just trying to get somebody that's going to be as anal as I am, because when I work on something, I'm done. When I'm done with it, I don't have to repeat it for, hundreds of thousands of miles.
So Rene, being 53 and being in this industry as long as you have been, do you foresee yourself staying in the industry until you're 65? Do you have retirement plans ahead, or do you have a different path maybe thought out? Or
I love this job, and so I'll keep doing it as long as I can, and I do it and take time off. I don't do it because I have to and I need the money. I do it because I enjoy it. And so if I can find somebody to go with me on the road, then I'll do it, keep doing it. If that's what she enjoys, traveling and hitting different states, and why not? But, I plan on putting more trucks, but, life has always thrown me a curveball. I've been married 5 times.
oh,
And it's all been because of the job, and all been after losing my boys, and life's never been the same ever since. And and like I said, I moved to Alaska to run away from what had happened to my boys. I was in my early 20s when that happened, and life's never been the same after that. And I worked in Antarctica. When I worked up north on ice roads, I would work 12 weeks on, 3 weeks off. So I didn't have a normal job,
right.
And so,
Uh,
but no, I enjoy what I'm doing, and I would have, like I said, I would have had a fleet of trucks, but it's kind of hard when you get divorced and you got to start over and sell everything and start over and so.
Sure. Yeah.
I've been at it a while.
You're listening to the Ship's Gonna Happen podcast, and Rene, you've driven all over the world. What's been the most beautiful place that you've driven?
Any parts of Canada. I love.
Really?
I love any parts of Canada. It's gorgeous here. The roads, the people, the scenery. And I used to do that road 30 times a year, going in and out of Canada, the border there. And it never has ever gotten boring, tiresome, or the same to me. And I'm still driving. I'm fixing to be going back up there here real soon. And, but up to Alaska with the load. And so, yeah, no, I California, there's a lot of beautiful places there, but double nickel sucks. I mean, I'll push and do 63, to get away with it. But trying to go through the state of California, you can't cover the miles that I'm used to covering when you're down here in the lower 48.
Right.
Going from Texas to California, I can do 800-900 miles in a day just because of the speed limit. But once you're in California, you're barely able to do 500, if that.
Wow.
Then when you're on the East Coast, you're barely to do 300 or 400 because of the hills, and the traffic. And so every place has. Maine, Vermont, beautiful. I mean, I loved all that stuff, but, again, I'm not from there. So I like to, mash on the throttle and go, where guys that are from there are used to doing, 300 miles in a day. And when you're down here and you can do 600, 700, 800, 900 miles, I mean, you're spoiled, being able to do 80 miles an hour and kick it up to 90 and just get down the road,
Sure.
and cover some ground. But, so the East Coast has, and I avoid the East Coast sometimes because of toll roads. I don't feel like I need to pay to drive on, on a highway that they're not using the money to maintain the damn potholes or the traffic lights or, and the truck stops are the same way in California. You got to pay to park there, $25, and it's like, it's not going into the parking lot. They got huge craters and potholes. And it's like, well, what the hell's the money? Where's the money going? If you're not putting it back into the parking lot, why am I paying to park here? So, and reserve parking, that's another. That whole reserve parking came about because of a woman, and nothing. I love women and love women truck drivers. I help them, but they when the parking lots get full and they couldn't back into a spot, they came up with the whole reserve parking thing, and truck stops start getting full at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon just because all the old timers can't see at night, so they start shutting down at 4 o'clock, and it's so that's where they did this whole reserve parking, so a guy or girl, a woman would have a parking spot, come midnight, and I'm totally against that. I argue with every truck stop in town whenever I pull into a reserve parking, because they and it's during the day that they're coming up. Where's your sticker? Where's your receipt? I'm not here to sleep. It's daytime.
Right.
That's only for nighttime. And if you're going to be here 10 hours, I'm here to grab lunch or a shower and get out of here. And call the cops. I don't care.
That's crazy.
And if you add it up, it's $25 to park there for 10 hours. That's like $800 a month. That's more than a mortgage. Well, I did the math one day. When Idle Air existed, you remember Idle Air?
No.
Where you pull into a truck stop and there's this elephant trunk and it goes in your passenger window and it provides AC.
Oh, yeah.
It's got internet, movies, and all that. Idle Air. So when that system came out, they spent $54 billion, of this, and they ended up shutting it down because people's bad hygiene. People are getting sick because, you're farting and sneezing and all that stuff's in there and they're not cleaning it out. And so people are getting sick. So they got rid of it, years later. But when they had that, it was $200 a year. But you had internet, you had movies, you had air conditioning, all this stuff. Now, reserve parking, you're paying $25 for 10 hours,
Wow.
And you add that up at the end of the month. I mean, that's more than your mortgage, at the end of the year. I mean, and what are they doing with that money? They're not putting it back into the parking lot. So Idle Air at least provided something, air conditioning, movies and internet and stuff. And reserve parking don't provide shit. You're not getting a free meal. You're not getting a free shower. You're not getting 5 gallons of gas. You're not getting nothing, and it's, and they got police Nazis, patrolling all that. And anyhow, so the whole Idle Air thing or the whole reserve parking is a big, you know, it's a thorn in my side. I argue with those people all the time, and they're
Sounds
always
like it.
threatening to call the cops.
Yeah.
So Rene, is your father still with us? Is he still driving or?
No, I mentioned earlier I'm the last of the dying breed. My dad passed away, diabetes, and so my uncles, I mean everybody that's driven. I'm the last. I'm the last Mohican.
You're
So
the
the
last
cars
of the
is out here.
Mohicans.
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Renee, I think we're gonna scoot on to our
Hang on, I had a
rest
couple more
of our-
questions.
Okay, my bad.
So Rene, if you had a chance to get in the cab today and pull a load anywhere, you said Alaska, right? Would be one place you'd
Oh,
go.
I'm still
What-
going there. Yeah.
What would be the second place you'd want to go to? You'd want to see?
Well, I've seen them all, but anywhere in Canada, any of the loads in Canada, I'm at lower 48. That's easy driving. Anybody can do that. I do the Alaska stuff because not everybody can do it. Not everybody wants to do it, and everybody's afraid to do it, and don't have the credentials to get through to do it. And there's been so many guys that want to do that road, and they do it. And on the way up there, you're on the mountainside. On the way back, there's no guardrails, there's no lights. You're on the edge where it's 200-foot drop. And a lot of them drivers that make that trip up to Alaska end up parking the truck and they fly home. And then the company has to fly somebody up to drive the truck back because they're like, hell, I'm not driving it back, back down that road.
Wow.
So they drive it up because they're on the mountainside. But, my wife, when I was married and we used to drive down, she would read a book, take a nap, but she could not be on that passenger side on the way down because you're right next to the edge of the cliff, and she's just, it'd scare the hell out of her. And a lot of drivers are that way and then try to do that in the wintertime, and like I said, the drink's right there and there's no guardrails, there's no lights. You're relying on all instincts and you got animals, crossing the road and, moose that are 1,500, 1,700
That's
pounds.
amazing.
And yeah, you got buffalo, bison. And so there's a lot of wildlife still in Canada and Alaska that are just roaming the roads. And then you get the tourists that pull over and take pictures, but they're not pulled over. They're just still on the road taking pictures, and you're coming around a turn. It's like, what the hell are you, they're parked right there, and that's why our insurance rates are the way they are, because people are in awe with the scenery in Alaska, which I get it, but pull over, get off the road if you want to take pictures. And they're just not thinking about it and looking in the rearview mirror and wanting to take that beautiful moose picture,
Yeah. Can you give us a this is Rene and you're listening to the Ship's Gonna Happen podcast.
This is Rene Garza with Northern Cross Transport, NCT, and you're listening to the Ship's Gonna Happen podcast.
Oh, nice. Well done. Really
And
well
then the other thing I was going to ask you is, so I may have missed it. How long have you actually been driving a truck legally? How many years?
Oh, legally?
Yeah.
26 years.
26 years.
There's a bit of a gap, it seems like, in the 26 years to the legal limit or whatever. So that's pretty cool.
Well,
Good.
Because everybody assumed years ago that I had a CDL because of my dad,
Right.
and that was before HR ever existed. So nobody ever asked to see it.
I gotcha.
HR existed, and then you had to be on the insurance policy and this and that. Well, let's see your CDL. So I didn't get my CDL till I moved to Alaska.
Understood.
And then that was because I bought my first truck, and so when I bought it at the Peterbilt dealership there in Anchorage, that I ended up going and taking my CDL test during a blizzard in Anchorage, right around Christmas time, December, and took my CDL and went and picked up the truck out of the dealership and drove out of there, with an actual CDL. But prior to that, I drove but never had a CDL because nobody ever asked to see it.
Are you a fisherman or a hunter, Rene? Do you do either of those living up there?
Absolutely. Well, I try to. When I take the time off, I do that, and had 3 refrigerators. So one was all moose and one was fish, and then the third one was the normal refrigerator, but the freezer. So yeah,
the fridge with the beer in it, right?
Yeah,
There we go.
Yep. And so if I didn't have the moose or fish, I had buddies that did do all that chartered, catered, and there were guides, and so we would just exchange the work. I was a mechanic. I'd do work on their truck, and they'd give me fish or moose. So I always had it available to me because of having buddies that were avid hunters or guides, or that were always out there and always had a
Yeah.
freezer full. So
You're listening to the Ship's Gonna Happen show. We got Rene on. Rene, we're going to get into our topics. You're more than welcome to stick around. Do you want to stick around and you can chime in on we'll hit you
absolutely.
up. Okay,
Awesome.
yeah.
Good.
So stand by here. We'll get into topic number 1. Did I hit the wrong thing on that? I did, didn't I?
Yeah. Need
Topic number 1.
Hey.
There we go. Topic number 1.
As you get off the elevator.
Yes. It's trucking. Okay. Truckingmonitor.com. Truckingmonitor.com. It's a website that has some data that they store about the trucking industry. This is a combined list of the top trucking companies, the top 100. We won't mention all of them, but we'll hit some of them. So essentially, it's a list that's prepared based on establishment date and the amount of employees. Some of these are going to be kind of surprising. So I'll just read a couple, and if you want to ask about a couple trucking companies, I can pull them off the list, right? I'll just go through like maybe the top 10 real quick. UPS is the number 1 trucking company in the world, in the United States, okay? UPS was founded in 1907, employs 481,000 people.
Wow.
That is like a lot, right?
A lot of people.
That's a lot. Yeah. Number 2 is FedEx. They started in 1971, some 60 some years later, 425,000. So UPS and FedEx employ the city of Indianapolis, basically, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's
pretty much.
That's like every street you drive down, if you think about that, in Indianapolis, technically would be. Go ahead, Rene.
The amount of employees that they have is almost the amount of residents in the whole state of Alaska.
There we go.
Exactly, yeah. So like every person in Alaska would theoretically be working for FedEx or UPS. That's amazing to me.
That is.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Do you have something else to say, Rene?
No. I just thought that was a lot of employees that they had. That's impressive.
It's like 900,000 combined. Then you have XPO at 100,000. They started in 1989. I think that's the last carrier to officially pour concrete and build a dock.
It might be,
which was Conway at the time, right?
Yeah.
So
that's 100,000. So it's basically a fourth.
Yeah.
Of what the other two are.
Right.
It's not bad though for starting almost 100 years later, right?
Right.
So, JB Hunt, you mentioned them earlier. Rene, 1961, 28,000 employees. Knight and Swift combined, they've got them listed down at 2017, but I think Knight and Swift are older than that, right? 22,000 employees. YRC Worldwide, number 6, with 31,000. Schneider, number 7, 1976, with 19,000. Landstar, number 8, 1968, with 1,306. Wow, Landstar, that's not a lot of employees for being the 8th largest in revenue. That's pretty good. Old Dominion is 9th, and then TFI International, Old Dominion with 22,000, 1934 start date. TFI International, which is, Rene, you might be able to help us with this. That's a Canadian-based company, right? 17,000 employees, 1957.
But isn't that currently UPS or what UPS was on the freight side?
Right. Transforce International, I think is how they go by.
Okay.
One of the ones that stuck out to me here that I didn't know it was around that long.
Central Freight on? Oh, no.
No.
Wait, never mind. Sorry.
Too
early?
Ryder Supply Chain. I didn't know Ryder had been around since 1933.
Yeah, they've been around a long time.
That's a long time. Hub Group, 12, which they've been around since 71. I didn't know that.
LME, are they on that list?
No, they're dissolved, right?
I know.
Yeah. Estes Express, 1931. Arc Best, 1923.
What are the numbers on the Arc Best and the Estes?
Estes, 18,000 employees. Arc Best, 13,000, which is weird. 10 years ago, Arc Best would have been much bigger.
But are they in the top 20? Are they in the 50?
13 and 14.
Oh,
yeah.
Bigger than I thought.
Roadrunner, number 17. I would not have guessed that.
I wouldn't have guessed that either.
With 4,600 employees, right?
Yeah.
So,
but this number, the numbers you're given, these are revenue.
yeah, the
These
revenue
are in
numbers.
revenue, so yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And then just to mention another LTL carrier, R&L 1965, doesn't have their employee number. Saya 1924 at number 25, 10,300.
In all of my years in this industry, I still, and I know we're not here to bad talk any carrier because I don't want to do that. But how anybody does business with OD is just beyond me. But they must work. So they're doing something right.
Something doing right.
They're doing something right.
Yeah.
But I don't want to talk bad about it. It's just, I just never have understood why people do business with OD.
Pitt, Ohio, 43, 1978. Averett, 32, 1958. Saya, 1924. I always forget they've been around that
So
long.
what was is like 78 probably the newest?
It looks like it is. Yeah.
Yeah, see, it shows how difficult it is to break into this industry.
Sure.
At that
Asset-based.
size. At that kind of, at that size.
So where is Saya? They've got to be climbing up that list kind of quickly, right?
Saya's at 25. Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, because of the expansion, right? They have grown quite a bit. Saya's at 10,300 employees, 1924. I think they're they're a Texas carrier, right? Or Georgia, out of Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saya? Yeah, I think they're out of
I
Atlanta.
think for a little bit they were based out of Louisiana. I thought maybe not, but
AAA Cooper at number 50.
did they lump AAA Cooper in with the Swift whatever?
No, they didn't. 1955. I didn't know they were around that long. A. Dewey Pyle, the last LTL carrier on this list, is at number 75, 1924.
That's a northeast.
Yeah, they're regional up there in Northeast, yeah.
And
Can I answer-
go ahead.
Go ahead, Rene.
Can I answer one of your questions?
Yeah.
Please.
You were commenting on 1,000 employees for Landstar.
Yeah.
Well, that's who I'm leasing on to is Landstar.
Oh, okay.
1,001 employees.
Yeah, 1,001.
After this show, 999. No, okay.
They have over 20,000 trailers, and that's why you see a lot of Landstar trailers everywhere.
Uh-huh.
That's all Landstar owns is trailers.
Oh,
So the trucks are all owner operators.
Gotcha.
okay.
So that's why you only see 1,000 employees, because it's all owner operators and then the employees that run the business. So when you see Swift, those are all company Swift trucks and owner operators with Swift, and they got over 12,000 I think employees with Swift, and that's why you see so many Swift situations, the jokes and all that kind of stuff. 'Cause
Yeah.
when you have that many trucks on the road, you're going to have somebody doing wrong things.
Right.
Because like I said, they're the only ones that'll hire anybody with no experience. So, Swift gets a bad rap, but they're actually a really good company. I mean, they train you if you're willing to learn, but,
Yep.
and I tell guys, do the Swift thing, because when you go and start your own business, and you start running your own MC numbers and your own USDOT numbers, and you do something wrong, you're affecting your credit score with Federal Motor Carrier Association. So you're dinging your own report. So if you come out here and go work for somebody for 2, 3, 4 years, get the experience under your belt under their numbers.
Yeah.
So when you do come out here, you're not dinging your own numbers just because you're new at it. So get the experience working with somebody else. But yeah, just to reiterate, Landstar, it's all owner operators. That's why you don't see that many. But it's all trailers that they own, and they're in the dry van division. They're in the flatbed. They're in the oversized heavy division, RGN trailers, step decks. They do all that stuff, and they go all over the United States, Canada, and Alaska. And that's why I'm with them, because they do have Alaska loads. Otherwise, I'd be down here a year or two at a time, and I'd have to deadhead or take a cheap freight going up to Alaska just to get home. So with Landstar, I can get up there no problem, and they're good paying loads, and they have an agent up in Anchorage where I can get something coming out, and so that's why Landstar is where I'm with versus everybody else. And I was doing my own thing too, but it's kind of nice working for somebody else's. Well, when I say working, I'm using their load boards.
Right.
So when I had my own authority, and I'm using DAT load boards, and there'd be a Landstar load on there, it'd be $2-3 a mile. But when you're leased on to Landstar and you're running under their authority, you're going to see $5, $6, $8, $10 mile loads. So that's why why just be a preferred carrier than actually leasing onto them. It's more money to be leased on than just to be a preferred carrier. And that's all I was before, was a preferred carrier with, pulling their freight.
So Rene, are you starting to see rates drop?
No,
Okay.
not
Not on flatbed. They kind of hold their rates, right?
yeah, and not where I'm at. So, and other guys, I mean, I hear other guys complaining, but, and again, being in the industry for three generations, I've seen the fluctuation. You got to ride the wave, and I know guys that have gotten into this, and now they're out of it. They quit, sold everything, and it's just like, they didn't prepare, they didn't put money away, and plan for some of this stuff to happen, and take time off when it does. I mean, I did, yeah, and so I helped mentor some guys that after a year, 2 years, they sold everything they had, truck, trailer, and
Dang.
got out of it, and now they're back doing whatever they were doing, and it's just like, God, you just ride the wave, you're going to be okay. And freight right now is great. I mean, there's money to be made, and if you're with the right brokers, you're going to get the fuel surcharges, and if you're not with the right broker, you're not getting the fuel surcharge. That's extra money right there that's going into your pocket, and one of the other things that guys do when they get out here is you got to get fuel cards. And I'm always posting, I saved $80. The other day, I just saved $300 when I bought fuel, or $160 when I bought fuel. It cost me $1,000, but I saved $160.
Saving money.
Because of my fuel discounts, and I'm going to save even more because I'll have a better corporate discount with Landstar, and so, but yeah, it's just like, if the three most expensive things you're going to spend is insurance, truck payment, and fuel.
Yeah.
And if you can save on fuel, do it. And my truck insurance, what they wanted for the year, when I renewed it, I said, what would it cost me if I paid it all off right now? And I saved $3,000 by paying off my insurance. When you renew it, instead of just making monthly payments, that's $3,000 right there that I took off of my insurance by paying it up front.
There you go.
And so there's ways a guy can save money.
Hey, Rene.
My truck is paid off.
Hey,
Yeah,
Rene.
go ahead.
I forgot to ask you this earlier, and I wanted to ask you this. How can people find you that are listening to the show?
Instagram,
What is your...
Northern Cross Transport, NCT. I'm on YouTube, but I don't post much on there because it's too much time. And,
Okay.
And, I'm a one man show, but I give away my number all the time. I can give it to you now if you want on the show.
Go ahead if you want. Yeah.
Area code 210-563-9877. And I'm always telling guys, if you got a question, call me.
Hit him up.
I'm always on the road. Don't text me. Call me, and I'll answer the phone. And I help a lot of guys out. And when they call, they're like, "Dude, every time I call you, you've answered the phone. It just doesn't go to voicemail. You answer now because of this new phone. If you're not in my contacts, it goes to voicemail. Like when you guys tried calling earlier. And I meant to ask you guys, tell me what number you're going to call so I can save it. That's why I didn't go through.
That's all right.
But so I do tell guys now, I guess you do have to text me, let me know you're going to call so that I can store the number, and then it goes through because it thinks it's spam, and then it doesn't go through.
So to wrap up this topic number one, right, the largest 100 trucking companies in the world, I'm going to go to you first, Rene. How many people total do you think the top 100 employs? Total number.
Say that again, the top 100 employees?
How many total people are employed by the top 100 trucking companies?
Oh, I would say 1,000 people.
No, total combined. Remember, UPS and FedEx employ nearly 900,000.
Okay, maybe I'm not understanding the
Yeah,
question.
okay, so if you remember, I was going through and I was adding like 22,000 here. You can't see the list, obviously, but it's kind of a funny number. Of all the top 100 carriers, how many total combined people do you think it employs overall?
Okay, because when you say employees, I was thinking of the people behind the building. I wasn't thinking of the drivers.
Yeah.
So it's got what, 100,000?
No. No. David?
2.5 mil.
3 million.
You guys are, I didn't do an over and under. You guys are right in the middle of that. The middle number's right in the middle. 2.75. Yeah.
Dun, dun,
It's right there.
dun.
Dun, dun, dun. David, you are the winner.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Are we doing? Push that button one more time. I'm gonna. Are we doing Prices Right numbers like the closest without going over?
I didn't clarify it, so I gave you both the win.
That's
so
all right.
you tied for
All
the
right.
win. So wrapping that up, it's about 2.75 million. That's a lot of people, man. That's
that is a lot of people.
That's 3/4 of the city of Chicago is employed by trucking companies, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's huge. David, you ready for
I am ready. I forgot what my topic was.
diesel fuel prices?
I know what it is. Jeez.
Did the drum roll get you?
No.
Oh,
It's just been one of those Ship's Gonna Happen weeks.
Oh,
so I'm
God.
sure of anybody on the show today, Renee's going to probably be able to chime in on this best than anybody. We're talking about the cost of diesel fuel and how much it's gone up. It's gone up 46% already since the start of this year, and it's just continuing to climb. And some of the experts don't see an end in sight. The cost of gasoline and the cost of crude has gone down, but the cost to manufacture the diesel part of it has gone up. And a lot of this, some of it weighs into the Russia-Ukrainian war. Some of it is due to supply cuts or manufacturing cuts in Nigeria. And there's just a lot of reasons why that the diesel cost is the way it is right now. So Renee, if you're in Alaska right now, do you know what the cost of a diesel fuel is in Alaska?
$5.50
Wow.
in town and $9 up north.
Oh,
Wow.
Jeez, like up toward Barrow or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Out
that
in
is
the villages. Yep, up there. Yeah.
that's crazy. What's the highest you're seeing it in the lower 48?
$4 and $5.
Okay.
All around here. I mean, you'll get into the $5-6 in California.
Dang. And so do you just see that as the cost of doing business, or do you listen to what can be done to bring these costs back down?
Yeah, it's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
I don't mind. And when fuel costs are like that, that's when freight's up. When fuel prices are low, freight's low. So, I mean, people don't get that, and they're whining and complaining. And again, if you have a fuel card, that's where you're going to save. And so, get you a fuel card before you get into the business, and that's gonna help you save money when you are out here. And I use coupons. When TA hands out coupons, I mean, you order
Coupons.
a $12 meal, you get $2 off. I don't care. I use coupons anywhere I'm at, and I'll go out of my way just to save, all my fuel apps. I got 7 fuel cards, so I'll see what the fuel prices are before I go somewhere, before I leave and plan my route, and I see how much the fuel is going to be when I get there, and so I'll plan my stops and which card's going to give me the best fuel discount. Some of my cards, I'll get $1 off of fuel, and so I mean that's huge. So
Yeah.
that's going to determine where I'm going to stop and where I'm going to eat and where I'm going to shower. So you do you plan your pre-trip before you take off, and that's where you stop and get your fuel. So I don't care what fuel prices are. I'm going to save money and still make money.
Right.
So it's okay.
Awesome. So one of the things that we do on this show, Renee, is we kind of induct our guests into the Ship's Gonna Happen Hall of Fame, HAUL of Fame. And so we greatly appreciate you being on today, Renee, and we're going to induct you into our Ship's Gonna Happen Hall of Fame.
Welcome to the Ship's Gonna Happen Hall of Fame. That's HAUL, Renee, Hall of Fame. David B. invented that. And when David B. says you're inducted, you're damn well inducted, my friend.
There we go. It's good to have you. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Renee.
So Renee, we're gonna go to the random thoughts section of the show.
Random thoughts.
And I probably should have prepped you better for this, Renee. But the random thoughts process for today, or the topic for today, is in movies, what three songs, Rene, out of a movie kind of stick in your head? Do you ever think about that? Like when you hear a song that a movie comes up, or
forget about her.
Oh, absolutely. I love music. It always has to be on, but I'm horrible at names, naming a song or actors. So, I mean, I love music, but I don't know what.
Well, what's your favorite movie?
I'm on the spot. Well, one of my favorite Black Dog. It's a truck driver, but it's the soundtrack that I love the most when I'm out here on the road.
All right, there we go. What are some of the songs on that soundtrack?
Randy Travis, before he got ill, he played in the movie, and his music is on there.
Huh.
Patrick Swayze was in it before he passed away as well, and so he was the main actor in there. Patrick Swayze and Randy Travis. So I like listening to that soundtrack. When I'm exhausted, I'll put that in because of the beat of the music. Eddie Rabbit's in it, and it just kind of.
Oh yeah, can't go wrong with Eddie Rabbit.
There we go.
You're a country guy.
I love
Eddie
Rabbit.
Rabbit. Little
and so you get a couple hundred more miles out of you when you put in that CD. You know.
What was the name of the movie?
Black Dog.
Black Dog movie. Okay. Huh.
All right. So, producer Tony, what about you? You got a top three?
Yes, I am the producer.
I feel like you should be playing these songs. Tony.
Well, what I did is
can we?
Yeah, we can. We had some technical difficulty.
No, but I mean, what I mean by can we is, and can we without getting in trouble with some dumbass?
A little brief you can.
Infringement.
Little brief you can, but I didn't actually put the. We were having that staticky stuff.
Gotcha.
So I didn't put the play it in.
Yeah, because you pushing the drum button 10 times.
Yeah, I love that drum button.
Just get your hand off of that.
Great.
Jesus. Hey, Rene, would you be interested in coming back on the show sometime before the end of the year?
Absolutely. This was really good.
Yeah,
So
sorry we got off to a slow start.
Mine would be Don't You Forget About Me.
What movie and who's the group?
You don't know the movie?
But it doesn't matter if I do know.
The movie was filmed at my rival high school.
The question is do you
Breakfast
know?
Club.
The question
Yeah, it's
and
the Breakfast
what's
Club.
the name of the artist?
What's the name of the artist? I can't remember the name of the artist. I don't know
Part
that.
of it.
I don't know that. Who is it? Matt, you would know.
That
Don't
is,
you
I
forget
do
about
know.
me.
That
Do you know
is,
it?
That is my number one, and I
Is
do
it
know
really?
who it is.
Do you know
your number one? Really?
It is.
Of course, David would know it.
It's Jesus. It's Simple Minds.
It is.
Is this Simple Minds?
It is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is,
Oh
producer
my
Do you
Tony.
think
gosh.
that David B and I would lie to you?
Yeah. So Rene, Matty Ice. One of the reasons why we have this topic today is Matty Ice is the music aficionado of this group. He is. We'll go to a bar, Rene, and I'll try to pick what I think is the most obscure song that Matty Ice probably does know, and every single time, like in 2 beats, he'll be like, "That's whatever song," and I'm like, "Damn it!" So you can never stump Matty Ice. Matty Ice is solid with his music.
My little brother, we always called him Rain Man, and he was the same way.
There we go.
You play 2-3 seconds of it, he'd tell you the artist,
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. And so what else do you got, producer Tony? Sorry, Rene. Go ahead, Rene.
I gave him 300 CDs because I had downloaded everything on iTunes and shipped them over from Alaska to him. My mom's like, "Hey, what's in the box here? This thing's heavy." And he stayed up till 3-4 in the morning for a month listening to, and it was all these old truck driving music that we grew up listening to. Teddy Bear and Adam 309.
Teddy Bear.
Yeah.
What was your
Red Sovine?
Yeah? What was your dad's favorite song?
Any of those Red Sovine.
Okay.
Because there was a story behind them, and that's the stuff that I listened to, but as Dad got older, Dad was Hispanic, so he turned real beaner towards the end because that was all the beaner music he ever listened to. So it wasn't country anymore; it was all polkas and Mexican music.
Did you ever grow up listening to Freddie Fender?
Oh yeah,
I love Freddie Fender.
Oh, yeah.
Still.
Oh my God, Freddie Fender was the man.
I love Freddie Fender too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Producer Tony,
Still
you
listen to
got,
him.
you got
Staying
two
alive,
more?
man.
Okay, yes. All right, again. All right,
Staying
now
alive.
hold on. The,
Oh, my
the
God, that's
movie and the
easy.
artist.
That's-
the movie and the artist.
Oh gosh, what was the name of the movie?
I thought it was
I
easy.
Forgot the name of the movie.
You just said
Is
it was
Staying
easy.
Alive?
Yeah, it is.
Staying Alive is a
It is.
movie, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's the Bee Gees.
There we
Yes.
go.
Yeah, there
All
you
right.
go.
Easy.
And
That
then
one's
you got
easy.
another one. You got one more.
I always liked Grease movie, and I liked the Olivia Newton-John song. What was that? Hopelessly in love with you.
All right.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
She was hot. She was
Yeah.
really a beautiful lady, right?
And she probably still is.
I think she is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think her and Travolta were like 30-some years old when they did that
Yeah, I
movie.
think so.
Right.
Probably. Yeah.
So
yeah.
we'll
Little
go
old
to,
for-
we'll,
Little
old.
we'll go to our permanent fill-in guest, Matty Ice.
Yeah.
And he's Matty Ice. These are going to be good.
Yeah,
know.
so I took this because I love movies and I love music, and there's certain songs that come on, and I think of a particular movie, but the song itself existed either prior to the movie in most cases, right?
Yes.
Like one of my favorite scenes out of a movie is Apocalypse Now.
Oh, yeah.
And the very first scene out of Apocalypse Now is The End by the Doors.
Yeah, that's a good
Okay.
one. Yeah.
And, but that's not one of mine. But it's just a great song with a great scene, right? So,
Yeah.
but I wanted to take it a step farther and think, okay, what was a pop song that was popular that probably would have not existed without the movie? So I
Oh,
took it a
okay.
step farther.
Okay.
Top Gun.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So what I thought was, first one I thought of was Christopher Cross, the Arthur theme,
That's-
which is when you get caught between the moon and New York
Oh,
City.
yeah. When you get caught between the moon.
So
and
that
the
actually in that
city.
song says Arthur in it.
Yeah.
So
Oh, it
it's
does.
from the movie Arthur. So that's a song that probably, which I
Didn't
love.
know that.
That's a great yacht rock song.
Yes.
And so I love that song. And that's actually from a movie. Next one I really like, and all of three of these are 80s. I don't know why they're all 80s. Maybe that was just seemed like they did that kind of thing in the 80s. But the
Right.
second one I've got is A View to Kill by Duran Duran from
Very good
the
song.
movie, the James Bond
Yeah.
movie, A View to Kill, which I think was Roger Moore's last.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Last, I believe that was his last.
Never
movie.
liked Duran Duran.
Good, but that's a good song. Good
Yeah.
choice.
And
Doesn't
and then
matter
the
what
last
you
one
like.
to me is the simplest one, which is Purple Rain by.
Oh,
that's
wow.
oh my God!
a
I should
hell
have
of
thought
a
of
list.
that.
I don't know.
He's one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
so I don't know how you
Boom.
can have that.
Well done.
That question without Purple Rain.
That is
Rain.
well done list.
Rain. That's a
Gosh,
good
I'm
one, man.
envious. That's a great list.
David, you?
I do. All right. So my third song, which kind of Matty Ice has already kind of guessed before the show started. This is my first song. Is as soon as you hear the first few beats to this song, you know exactly where in the movie this was happening. And so my first song is "Moving in Stereo" by the Cars from the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So Phoebe Cates getting out of the pool, Tony.
Yeah, I
That's-
remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right when that song is starting. So
Kate, yeah.
then number two is "Fight the Power" by Public Enemy, and the movie, "Do the Right Thing."
Yeah, that's a great one.
That is, and then Tony took my number one, and with "Simple Minds" and "Don't You Forget About Me." So that's my
I didn't know they sang that.
yeah. I think "Simple Minds," in my opinion, Simple Minds probably should have been as big as U2, and they probably are in maybe certain aspects, but I like
so
them
we were on
better
a
than
roll for a
U2.
while.
That's just my own opinion. So
Just to give you guys this, so I grew up not too far from where the filmmaker John
Hughes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything was Chicago.
Oh my God. So we were asked to be extras in a lot of stuff. And so I was asked to be an extra and didn't do it. They were asking for athletes to come into the cafeteria and they were saying, hey,
well, that's why, because look at your physical specimen.
dude, I'm a good looking dude,
you
man.
are. I'm not saying that
I
you're
would
not.
I would win the best shape looking 55-year-old in the room.
in the room.
Absolutely.
In the room.
Top
in
five,
This room.
all the way.
Jesus.
So the drama teacher always wanted me to get in drama, and I never did. So she calls us all in the cafeteria, and she says, you need to go to this. I want you to go to this. And I go, I got football practice in like an hour. She's like, don't go. And I'm like, I got to go. The football coach is walking by. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, shoot. And then so it was for the movie Lupus.
Okay.
Do you remember that movie?
I do not.
You don't remember that movie?
Lupus?
Yeah. I think it was Lupus, right? It was with...
Lupus? That's a disease.
He
That
had
can't be
lupus. It was Charlie Sheen and... or was it Lucas?
Lucas.
Lucas, yeah. Lupus. It was Lucas, right? So they got asked to be an extra in that. And then...
Yeah, didn't that have... that had Corey Haim in it,
Corey
right?
Haim in it, yeah. He was the little kid.
The little kid. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Diarrhea.
Yeah.
Lucas.
Lucas is the name of the movie. Then the other one was Breakfast Club.
Okay.
I was a little young. I think I was in 8th grade when that came out, when they started filming it, because it got released a year and a half later than when it was filmed. And then 16 Candles.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh dang. Blues Brothers.
Nice.
They
Yeah,
filmed
nice.
that. They actually had an accident, a stunt accident, that the car ran into a house, and they got the filmmaker got sued for damage to the property. And then they were all the time filming movies, man, in the area. So, and at our rival high school, they shut it down, but
What
they kept.
about Ferris Bueller?
Ferris Bueller was from there too. Yeah, I was
know.
not asked for
Yeah.
that though.
That would have been probably when you were in high school, maybe.
I was an
Yeah.
extra.
87?
Yeah,
Or- yeah.
I was. Yeah, I was. Oh, yeah.
I
86,
was
87?
an extra
Or
in
wait,
that
Was
movie.
that 85? I can't remember.
You were?
I was an extra in a movie.
What's that?
In a basketball movie.
Oh.
But the first one you're thinking of is not
Not,
that movie.
not Hoosiers.
Oh, I know what it is.
You
It's
do know.
Is it Blue Chips?
It was.
You were
yes,
in Blue
yes.
Chips?
If just the right part, it's at the very, very, very beginning of the movie when they're scanning the crowd.
Chips, that's in the 70s, isn't it?
No.
it was
That
50s. Dave's kinda old now.
Shut the. Yeah. So anyway, as they're scanning the crowd, right at the beginning of the basketball scene, if you stop it, me and my sister and her now husband were all sitting there just kind of as movie extras, and that was a shit ton of fun. The best ovation. So there's all these athletes that are there, and there's some sports broadcasters that are there. There's a whole bunch of popular people: Shaquille O'Neal, Penny Hardaway.
I see it right now, yeah.
Bob Knight was there. I mean, there was quite a few. The person that got the highest ovation or the best ovation was Ed O'Neill when he came out to do
Al Bundy.
Yeah.
Because he was famous for that at that point,
it was
yeah.
by far he got the loudest
Nick
ovation.
Nolte
that's
was
funny.
a great actor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Was Paul Newman in Blue Chips?
No.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different one. then.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that was cool,
So-
man.
so-
Nice.
So Renee, when you're coming through Indianapolis next time, give us a shout or something. We'd love to, meet up with you, buy you a cup of coffee, or at least maybe shake hands with you one day. And if it's on a Saturday morning, we'd love to have you back on the show.
If you can handle the roads in Indiana.
You're right. Well, there is that.
They do suck.
Yeah.
They do suck. Yeah.
Even with my little old four-wheeler, I know they suck.
But you know what? It's rated as one of the top states in infrastructure.
Yeah, I don't know where they get that.
It's ranked sixth.
They're looking at
Or fifth.
airport.
Would you be interested in doing that, Renee? Would you be interested in letting us know when you're coming
Yeah.
through and meeting up with us?
Absolutely.
Can you do us a favor too? And this is just if you want to, maybe on your Instagram, if you would give us a shout out of some sort.
Yeah.
Is that something you'd be all right with?
I did last night.
I
when,
saw that.
Okay.
I saw
realized
that.
Yeah, and then I'll do it again. But yeah,
So, so Renee,
totally forgot about it till you guys reached out
that's
again.
all right.
I was
So-
like,
And if you get married again, let us know.
yes,
We're-
please, we'd
we're
love to
hoping-
come, even if it's across the pond. Let
Yeah.
us know or whatever. Hey, also, when Renee, when you're talking to when you're chatting with me on Instagram, this is David B, and when you're doing the Instagram thing with Ship's Gonna Happen, just so you know that I'm the one that you're kind of chatting with. So it's been a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Likewise, same
Absolute-
here.
Yep.
Enjoyed it. Thank you very much. It's awesome. I enjoy these shows. Or, maybe next time we can go a little bit more into truck specs or something.
Yeah.
To help guys out there. I know this was just kind of a tutorial to see who I am and everything else. But we can go over the difference in whether it's hot shot or big trucks or whatever you want to talk about.
Yep, definitely.
Your favorite Eddie Rabbit song. We'll talk about that next time.
Okay.
Eddie Rabbit.
Yeah, we won't. Renee, next time I will not try to put you on the spot so much. I'll give you a heads up on what we're going to talk about on
Some
the
questions.
random thoughts stuff, and so.
All right. Hey,
Yeah.
go ahead, Renee. I'm sorry.
No, I'm fine. That was fine. I wear my life on my sleeve. I have no secrets, so You know, I either talk about it on my videos or, you know, I've dealt with it. I went down to Peru and lived with the shaman for 2 months so I can deal with my past, because that was the only way I was going to get through it, it seemed like, because even though I was going to church and doing all that, it didn't matter, minister, preacher, pastor, I still never got any closure with my boys and my brother. And so it took me going down to Peru to go live with the shaman for a couple of months to accept and deal with my past.
Rene, you are awesome. You're a road warrior. You're a Hall of Famer. We really appreciate your class act. We appreciate you coming on the Ships Gonna Happen podcast. Thank you so much. We hope you have a great weekend. And we are OUT. You guys got anything?
You're the best, Rene. Thank you a million times over. We can't wait to talk to you again.
Matt G?
I'm good.
You good?
Yep. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Hey, thanks for being in the studio today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We are out. Rene, have a good weekend, brother.
All right, thanks. It was nice meeting every one of you guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. Take care.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.